I stood in the middle of our empty home, staring at the hollow space that used to hold our life together. His voice came through the phone, confused and demanding. "Hey, where are you right now? I don't understand. Don't upset me. There's nothing left in the house that belongs to us. What's happening?" I took a slow breath, steadying myself. "Well, I packed up all my things and left." Silence. Then, disbelief. "I don't get it. Why would you leave?" A sad smile tugged at my lips. "We got divorced. So, isn't it natural for me to leave?" His voice sharpened. "Divorced? I'm the one who filed the papers." I closed my eyes. "Exactly. My name is Claire. I'm 35 years old and work in an office. For the past 5 years, I was married to Evan. In the beginning, things were good, not perfect, but stable. Evan used to work for a company, but 2 years ago, he quit to start his own business. Unfortunately, his venture never took off, and for the past 2 years, we had been struggling financially. Despite that, we managed. I had a steady job, a good income, and I took pride in being able to keep us afloat. Our relationship wasn't terrible, but it wasn't fulfilling either. The real problem, though, wasn't just Evan. It was his mother and sister. They lived in my husband's family home, and every time I saw them, they had something cruel to say. Whether it was my appearance, my cooking, or the way I spoke, they always found a way to put me down. The constant criticism weighed on me, making every visit unbearable. Evan, however, never saw an issue with it. His mother and sister could do no wrong in his eyes. Their house was only a 10-minute drive from our apartment, so he visited them often. At first, I went along, trying to be the good wife, but over time, I began standing up for myself. It didn't matter, though. No matter what I said, they never changed. What frustrated me even more was their endless demands for money. "Hey Claire, I need $500 to buy a birthday present for a friend," my sister-in-law had asked me one evening. $500? What are you buying?" I asked, already suspecting the answer. "A trip. And of course, I'll be going too," she said casually. My stomach twisted. "So, you're asking me to fund your vacation?" She scoffed. "Ooh, you're so stingy, Claire. Are you a miser? Evan supports you, and you're still acting like this." I laughed bitterly. "Excuse me. I'm the one supporting him. He hasn't contributed a dime to our expenses in over a year. And you, why don't you get a job? You're an adult." Before I could say more, Evan interrupted. "Claire, I have a friend's birthday coming up too. I need $500 for a gift." I blinked. "Are you serious?" His mother chimed in with a saccharine smile. "Oh, you really understand, Evan. You're such a good son. In that case, Claire, can I also have $300? There's something I need to buy." I hesitated, but my husband didn't. "Claire, you should have about $3,000 in your wallet, right? Just give it to her." My hands clenched into fists. Was this some kind of joke? I had worked hard for that money, yet here he was, casually giving it away to his family like it meant nothing. With a forced smile, I handed over the cash, feeling the last bit of my patience slip away. During the drive home, I couldn't stay silent any longer. "Why do you act like this?" Evan didn't even look at me. "I have my pride as the eldest son," he muttered. "Pride?" My voice wavered with disbelief. "We can barely afford to live comfortably, and you're out here throwing money around. Do you even understand how hard I work to keep us afloat?" He exhaled sharply. "What's wrong with making my own mother happy?" I shook my head. "She'll never be satisfied. The more you give, the more they'll demand. Do you get that?" His grip tightened on the steering wheel. "We got a big bonus this summer." "That money is for savings," I snapped. The fights became more frequent after that. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became, I didn't have to stay in this cycle. I deserved better. So, the next time Evan said, "We're going to my mom's," I simply replied, "You go alone." He frowned. "What do you mean? It's normal for a wife to go too." I tilted my head. "Oh, But you never come with me when I visit my parents. Shouldn't that be normal too? His jaw tightened. Do whatever you want, he muttered before storming off. That weekend, I felt freer than I had in years. I spent my time researching something that had been on my mind for a long time: buying my own home. I browsed listings, ordered brochures, and imagined a space that was truly mine. A place where I wasn't constantly disrespected, where I could decorate freely, and where I could finally breathe. When Evan returned that evening, he was still brooding. "You've been acting bold lately," he remarked. I didn't even look up. Standing up for myself isn't bold. It's just self-respect. "You're refusing to see my mother. What's next? Divorce?" Something inside me clicked. He had no idea, did he? Divorce? I repeated, looking at him with quiet amusement. Would that really be so surprising? Evan scoffed. "I wouldn't mind if you left, you know. I already have my part of the paperwork ready. I can submit it anytime." He smirked, like he was daring me to argue. "I'll let it go this time, but defy me again, and it'll be an instant divorce. Think about that." With that, he turned toward the bathroom, ordering, "I'm going to take a bath. Hurry up and make dinner." I waited until I heard the water running before exhaling in relief. He thought he was in control. He had no idea that I had already packed my things. That night, I cooked with an unusual lightness in my heart. The decision had already been made. My future no longer included him. And the moment I signed those divorce papers, I knew I was finally free. I could barely contain my excitement, but in front of my husband, I maintained a calm and composed demeanor. Finally, after much careful planning, I had accomplished what I had long yearned for. I had purchased a house in my own name. Now, all that remained was to finalize the divorce, move out of the home I had shared with my husband, and start a new chapter in my life, free from the shackles of an unhappy marriage. With quiet determination, I began packing my belongings little by little, ensuring my husband wouldn't notice my gradual departure. Each item I carefully wrapped and sent to my parents' house temporarily, a silent step toward my impending freedom. My parents, who had been my unwavering support throughout this journey, understood my situation completely. They welcomed my decision with open arms, offering me both their reassurance and a safe space to transition into my new life. At last, the day I had been waiting for arrived. My new house was finally complete, standing as a testament to my independence and resilience. It was everything I had envisioned: elegant, spacious, and filled with warmth. Both the interior and exterior reflected my personal taste, making it feel like the sanctuary I had always dreamed of. The scent of fresh paint and new wood lingered in the air, filling me with an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Taking advantage of my husband's habitual weekend visits to his parents, I seized the perfect opportunity to execute my final move. With efficiency and precision, I transported the rest of my belongings to my new home, leaving behind nothing but memories I was eager to forget. That night, as I settled into my newfound haven, my phone suddenly rang. "Hey, where are you?" My husband's voice carried an edge of confusion and frustration. "Well, where do you think I am?" I responded casually, knowing full well the chaos he must have discovered. "Don't play games with me. There's nothing left in the house. What's going on?" I let out a soft chuckle. "I packed up all my things and left." "What? I don't understand. Why would you do that?" His voice wavered, as if he still hadn't grasped the reality unfolding before him. "Well, since we're divorced now, it's only natural for me to move out, don't you think?" I said smoothly. "Divorced? What are you talking about?" "I already filed the divorce papers. We're no longer together." There was a long, stunned silence before he stammered. "No, you're lying. I won't accept this." "But you were the one who always said we could get divorced whenever, weren't you? As a businessman, shouldn't you stand by your words?" I replied with a calm finality. "Anyway, this is the end for us." With that, I ended the call. A wave of relief washed over me as I placed my phone aside. For the first time in years, I felt a profound sense of liberation. That night, I slept peacefully, cocooned in the comfort of my new home. The burden that had weighed me down for so long had finally been lifted. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed, ready to celebrate my new life. I invited my parents over to see my home for the first time, eager to share my joy with them. As I prepared a delicious meal in the kitchen, I heard their voices at the door. They arrived carrying a bottle of celebratory sake, their faces glowing with pride and happiness. "This house is absolutely beautiful," my mother said in awe, taking in every detail. "You've really outdone yourself," my father added, nodding approvingly. With beaming smiles, we raised our glasses in a heartfelt toast. Even though it was still early in the day, the occasion called for celebration. Just as we were about to take our first sip, the doorbell rang. Frowning, I walked over to check the intercom. The screen displayed an unexpected and unwelcome sight: my ex-husband, his mother, and his sister standing at my doorstep. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice laced with annoyance. My ex-mother-in-law spoke first, her tone haughty and demanding. "From now on, my son and I will be living here. My husband is in the hospital, but once he's discharged, he'll be moving in too." I scoffed at her audacity. "Excuse me. This is my house. Please leave immediately." She narrowed her eyes. "No way. That's absurd. Why should I?" "Because this is my property, and you have no right to be here," I said firmly. My ex-husband stepped forward, looking agitated. "You can't just kick us out." At that moment, his mother's expression darkened. "You cheeky girl. What's yours is mine. Now, open the door." I let out a laugh, unable to believe what I was hearing. "What nonsense are you spouting? Your son didn't tell you. We're divorced. We're complete strangers now." Shock rippled across their faces as they turned to my ex-husband for confirmation. I could see him fumbling for words, most likely attempting to deny the truth. But it was too late. "You have no claim to this house," I reiterated. "Now, get off my property." Ignoring their persistent shouting, I hung up the intercom. However, my ex-husband continued banging on the door, demanding to talk. Frustrated, I wondered how to put an end to this disturbance when suddenly, flashing red and blue lights illuminated the front yard. A police car pulled up in front of my house, and within moments, officers stepped out and restrained my ex-husband. His protests echoed in the night air as they pinned him to the ground. "It hurts. Why is this happening to me?" he wailed. Meanwhile, his mother and sister stood frozen in disbelief. Though they weren't arrested, the officers escorted them away in the police car, ensuring they wouldn't cause any more trouble. As I watched the commotion unfold, I turned to my parents, bewildered. "Who called the cops?" My father smirked and raised a peace sign. "In situations like this, you call the police immediately. Trust you're always calm, Dad." A rush of gratitude filled me as I hugged him. We returned inside and continued our celebration with another round of drinks, the mood even lighter than before. Later, I discovered how my ex-husband had found my new address. He had been stalking me, following me home from work. Thankfully, his actions led to legal consequences. With the police report filed, I obtained a restraining order against both him and his family. If he ever dared to approach me again, he would be arrested on the spot. As for him, life took a sharp downturn. His business crumbled, leaving him drowning in debt. Without my financial support, he and his family were left struggling. With his father still in the hospital and no income to rely on, they were forced to sell their house. It was a fitting end, a case of karma coming full circle. Meanwhile, my parents and I settled comfortably into our new home. They often praised me for being such a devoted daughter, and their happiness made everything I endured worthwhile. No longer bound by a loveless marriage, I embraced the future with open arms. With my parents by my side, I was determined to cherish every moment and build a life filled with peace, love, and unshakable happiness.